Hoover's Rotten Apple, Chapter 12. The two left the bathroom. If Dale's plan was as good as promised, they wouldn't need to worry about looking suspicious by exiting together. 2 fresh cups of coffee had been placed on their table since their departure. As he sat down, Elmer tucked a mug between his thighs. From that point forward, the two enjoyed the diner's cozy atmosphere as usual. The next step was to act natural until the sheriff confronted them, and Palmer wasted no time fulfilling his role. He rose, approached their booth, and planted both fists on their tabletop.
"Howdy, fellas. My name's Sheriff Palmer, and this here's my deputy, Kid."
As Dale guessed, Palmer spoke with ample austerity and bass. Kid blocked Elmer's only exit from the booth, and Palmer blocked Dale's. While Elmer could bypass Kid with ease, Palmer resembled an unsuperable brick wall. All was going according to plan.
"You folks new around here?"
Palmer skyscrapered over Dale. His cannonball biceps and cast-iron forearms looked prepared to annihilate anyone who crossed his path, and his daunting scowl unnerved Dale too much to form a full sentence. What came out instead was, "Yeah, well, kinda. No, we're just passing. Yes. We are new here, actually, yes." Before Palmer responded, Elmer piped in. Trying his best not to reveal any more concern than Dale already had, he asked, "Why you want to talk to us so badly, Sheriff?" Palmer's lips parted, revealing a rotten collection of tobacco-stained teeth painted with swampy gunk the color of charred wood. The smile resembled a cursed snarl more than it did any human expression.
"Oh, please, you don't need to call me Sheriff. I'm Palmer to you, along with every other jolly soul who calls pretty little Millville their home. You see, I'm known as a friendly face in this community, and it's my pleasure taking time to welcome newcomers to Millville. Say, you folks ain't the ones moving in on Creed Street, are you?"
Only half of Dale listened to Palmer. The other half was practicing the art of alibi building, a concept he'd nearly mastered as a magician. "No, actually, we're just passing by. See, we used to be members of a flying circus, but we got separated from our pack after a twister swept right through our tent site. We got picked up and blown far across the land. Ain't nobody bothered looking for us because they thought we was dead the second our feet left the dirt." Palmer showed no signs of belief. Dale's story must have been too far-fetched, or he must have stuttered while saying it, or he said it too smoothly. Either way, Palmer's horrid grin reverted to its natural glower.
"You don't look like circus performers."
His voice was hollow, like a fresh grave. Dale blinked. "Oh, I never says we was performers. No, I'm just a fellow who says, 'Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to welcome Mr. This and Mrs. That onto the stage.'" He started speaking with the same comical, exaggerated voice used to address the audience during the show. "My friend don't perform neither. He just shows off is all. We call him the Two-Headed Man. That's 'cause growing out of his back is the most revolting, grotesque face you'll ever lay eyes on." Every gulp of water Elmer had consumed was nearly coughed up upon hearing this. Dale and Palmer pinpointed the cause of Elmer's distress in unison. Dale had messed up.
"Oh, really?"
Palmer roistered.
"You mind letting me peek at that second head of his?"
"Gonna cost you some photo money first," Dale said. Palmer willing to pay would mark the end of the line for Dale and Elmer. No more long walks or fresh apples or warm coffee. No more chasing after Hobo Crow, and no more justice for the dead girl. They'd be returned to the mug, and that would be that. "I don't want to see a boss," Kid whined, worse than a toddler struggling to read his first words. Dale's prediction was correct about how the deputy spoke as well. Slow, meek, and squeaky. "Them freaks give me the heebie-jeebies. Keeps me up at night, and gives me nightmares when I do get some sleep. Even when I got my lamp on."
"Come on, kid. Either man up or look away, 'cause I want to see this,"
Palmer said, digging into his pocket for cash. "It might give you nightmares too, you know," Dale said. "I've seen grown men shriek like ladies, little kids run away in terror, women faint, all from my friend's disgust in face. Personally, I've only ever seen it once, and once was enough."
"Trust me, I've dealt with crooks whose faces look like piles of reconstructed pig carcasses. No face of yours can be worse than that."
"But this face screams if he sees the light." This was the last of Dale's excuses. "He sees the light and he starts screaming and hollering and spitting all over the place."
So do them crooks.
Palmer grimaced, placing a wad of dollar bills on their table.
That should be enough to see 'em, and you can keep the change.
Elmer placed both hands on the table and began rising from the booth. Sorry to interrupt, but that ice water shot through me quicker than a bullet. I gotta run to the restroom real quick. Hope you fellows don't leave me out of too much chit-chatting. He was about to slide past Kid when Palmer said,
Say, didn't I see you run to the bathroom just a few moments ago? Both of you did, actually.
Yes, I did, in fact, go to the bathroom a few moments ago. Elmer started, with no forethought regarding his next sentence. But it's very unwise of you to assume, especially the happen about, of things that took place in a room you weren't in, because although I was in the bathroom, I did not use it. Why? Deputy Kidd asked. 6 eyes were locked directly onto Elmer's, awaiting an answer. It was his turn to lie. Yet his entire vocabulary withered away as instantaneous as dust trapped in a breeze. Only 2 or 3 words were left behind, and Elmer was incapable of aligning them to form a coherent sentence. How long had it been since the deputy asked that stupid question? A second? 10? 30? Well, you see, Dale butted in, as you already know, my dear old pal here has a terrible condition in which he has 2 faces. And that second face has a little brain of its own, believe it or not. Yes, sir, and that brain comes up with very interesting ideas every now and again. Jokes, even. That's why my friend and I congregated in the restroom just now. His second face came up with a funny, but was too nervous to share it out here. It was much darker in the bathroom, hence us meeting up in there.
I call horse crap,
Palmer asserted. Call it Steamboat Willie from the Flicker Show for all I care. It's true, nonetheless, Dale said. Now, my friend needs to use the restroom, and I do believe it would be in everybody's best interest if we get out of his way like gentlemen before he gets uncomfortable. With the urgency of a man whose bowels were seconds away from liquefying, Elmer wheezed,
Yeah, what he says. Now please, I gotta get.
Elmer's hand was tucked between his legs as he squeezed out from the booth. Palmer waited for the bathroom door to close behind Elmer before continuing.
Hope you don't mind my profanity. Sometimes it just spills out.
Although Elmer didn't contribute much to the conversation, Dale felt tiny and defenseless without some muscle at the table. Palmer noticed Dale's anxiety and took full advantage of it.
Who are you fellas, anyhow? Really? Cut the nonsense out of your story, and what do we got?
Beg pardon? Dale asked. Palmer leaned in close enough to nearly burn Dale with his cigar's cherry. Dale sensed a sinister monologue brewing, a speech addressing the evils of escaping a governmental institution, followed by an explanation regarding the solution to such evils. He'd suggest a noose be used, or better yet, a gun. Before Palmer's mouth opened, however, Kidd whispered a sentence too quiet to discern.
What do you want, kitty? Can't you see this man and I are in the middle of a meaningful conversation here?
Kidd saved Dale the ear strain by speaking in a perfectly audible volume this time. It happened again, boss. His face flushed, and crescent moons swelled at the bottom of his eyes. And I asked you not to call me Kitty. That's what them Batson boys call me, and they're meanies. A tear journeyed from his eye to his chin.
Jesus Christ, pull yourself together, kitty,
Palmer demanded. Stop yelling at me. This is why I like Mom better. Cupping a hand over his mouth wasn't enough to hide his smile. Tears were spraying down Dale's rubicund cheeks, and his facial muscles became painfully sore from suppressed hoots and hollers and howls. Oh, to think Elmer's task of stealthily spilling the lukewarm coffee onto Kidd's crotch would be the trick's most difficult part. As Dale found out, the most difficult part proved to be his job of watching the aftermath without exploding into a fiery fit of laughter.
I'm terribly sorry about this. My deputy's got a bladder issue, and he seems to have a little accident. Will you excuse us for a moment?
Too much cheer was gambling inside Dale for him to speak, so he nodded instead. Palmer turned to Kidd, and between his teeth he hissed,
Go back to the office and wash yourself up, you big dummy. Now!
I don't want to go back alone, Daddy. What if them Batson kids show up and start picking on me?
I wish they would.
Palmer returned his attention to Dale.
How about we meet up again later in the day? My office is located at the end of the block. It's inside the old county store.
Dale nodded, and Palmer turned to the door. His last words before leaving were directed at Kid.
You messed up big this time, you dumb, stupid idiot. You jacked the whole gig up.
Sorry, boss, Kid whined. The front door shut behind them. Dale was left alone, where he finally released his pent-up joyfulness. He laughed and cried and slammed his fist on the table for nearly 5 minutes. Elmer heard the celebratory wailing and cracked open the bathroom door. Upon seeing Dale's glowing countenance, he, too, began cracking up. The sweet, triumphant laughter was contagious. Strangers unaware of Kid and Palmer's incident would have joined their parade as well if any strangers had been around to do so. How bad was it, Dale? Did the deputy cry like I guessed? Elmer laughed, setting the empty coffee mug on the table. Oh my, oh my, oh me, oh my, man. You should have seen it. The whole works went down. The deputy started bawling like a baby, and the sheriff turned so many shades of red. I couldn't believe it. Everything that could have gone right went right. Dale extended his hand to shake Elmer's. Once they calmed down, Elmer regained his focus and used his newfound clarity to notice a bundle of George Washingtons sitting on the table. And to pile on to the good news, look at what they left behind. Dale stared at the money. Do you suppose we should give it back? He asked shyly. Are you serious? Elmer asked, unsure if he should laugh or scream. Are you an idiot for wanting to give free money back, or am I an idiot for believing you believe they deserve this money more than us? Or am I the idiot for believing you'd believe I'd believe you'd believe? Okay, fine, just cut it out. Dale chuckled, playfully slapping Elmer on the shoulder. They did carelessly leave it here, and they were going to give us the money anyway. You're right, you're right. And we do need that pancake stack and egg platter. Exactly. So whose money is this? Ours. But just because they gave it to us. Don't expect me to go off robbing banks or picking pockets with you anytime soon. Yeah, you continue telling yourself that. Now hush up about breaking the law. Here comes Donna with her pancake stack. Here you go, sweetie pies, Donna said, placing the 2 platters of food on the table. Both meals discharged more savory ribbons of aroma than boiling water produces steam. Elmer received a tower of warm, fluffy pillows, coated evenly in homemade maple syrup. Dale was given 2 eggs, cooked over easy. Beside them were 2 slices of golden brown toast, crisped to perfection, and 3 skillet-fried sausage patties. Dale and Elmer cherished every bite. Not once from that point on did they feel guilty about what they did to Kid or how they were paying with Palmer's money. Every obstacle they overcame all led to this meal. To not enjoy it would be a pity. Chapter 13. Hung in the front window was a plywood sign painted in blocky white lettering. It read, "Going out of business soon. Everything half off." Inside was dry. The shelves only contained dust, mummified paperback novels, and towers of yellowing paperwork nobody minded filing away. The place wasn't going out of business. It was out of business. All the store needed was a new sign reading, "So long, it's been good to know ya." Palmer sat behind the store's front counter, as obedient as a schoolboy awaiting his teacher's instruction. Every one of his senses was locked onto the front door with utmost assiduity. He wanted to see the explosive sunlight flood into the dimly lit shop as the door opened. He wanted to hear the rusted hinges scream. He wanted to smell the perfume of Donna's morning feast. He wanted to taste revenge. Slouched behind Palmer was Kid, now dressed in Galligaskin-sized overalls. Kid and Palmer were the only 2 people present. The storekeeper was given a paid day off by Palmer, and nobody in Millville had reason to visit such a desolate building. Nobody except for Elmer and Dale, who should have finished breakfasting 30 minutes ago. It was only a matter of time before the 2 would burst through the front door, as trusting as a couple of puppies. Palmer did invite them, didn't he? Yes, he did. But they wouldn't show. They knew the sheriff's building was a no zone. If they came, they'd get arrested. Or shot. Such cowards. Was that them? Kid asked. Palmer didn't bother asking for clarification. He knew who Kid was referring to. He produced 2 papers from underneath the counter. One was a hand-drawn sketch of Dale. The other was of Elmer.
I wasn't entirely sure back at the diner, but I thought about it, and now I know. Them folks were in Donna's diner today, sitting right next to us.
Why didn't you arrest them? Why'd you just let them be?
Next, Palmer withdrew the second love of his life, a Colt Police Positive Special revolver, from his holster. Fully loaded, never missed.
'Cause if them folks working up at the mug were telling the truth, those two piggies murdered my baby sister. They dragged her into the sewer and left her to rot. I don't care where I end up afterwards. It's now my duty to murder them back.